Neither can I ever forget how one of our neighborhood friends asked us to share an experience after he had obtained a number of red and green flares from his father's workplace at the local fire department. We burnt them on street corners and enjoyed the exciting and beautiful bright flares which lasted for long periods of time. The whole neighborhood enjoyed the spectacle, although some complained, worrying that we could cause an accident or start a fire. I also remember the times when we used to make paper Chinese lanterns with lit candles attached underneath. When we burnt the candles, the hot air generated inside the lanterns made them fly away, creating a wonderful display in the sky. I am sure that the neighbors enjoyed the sight, but I do not recall anybody expressing any appreciation. While at high school, having founded a space club, at the same time being extremely interested in space travel and science fiction, I discovered George Adamski living somewhere in the United States. He was a Polish migrant selling hot dogs and teaching all about UFOs he had encountered. He published books such as Flying Saucers Have Landed and Inside the Flying Saucers. I wrote to him after borrowing his books from the American Library, and he responded, offering me his important lecture papers about where humanity was heading and what the Venusians had advised him in regard to humanity's future, hopefully without nuclear disasters. These kinds of remote education would cost a lot of money for a young person like me, and I was not prepared for it, but he was happy to continue corresponding with me, writing all about his experiences. However, years later he was accused of telling untruths by his critics, and, according to him, the planet Venus was habitable, and his late wife had reincarnated there. Later discoveries declared that it was a hell-like planet. Perhaps George had interpreted people from other recesses of the universe as Venusians, that is, if he had truly met them. Perhaps they may have been using Venus as a base at the time of his meeting them. He produced photographs which he claimed to be spaceships from other planets. They were either like two plates placed face to face on each other with an extended rim, or cigar-shaped. However, some of the things he was writing about were logical ideals. Apparently the space people were ready to help humanity. Obviously such correspondence was revolutionary, and the whole idea idealistic. I was no doubt going to discover many more things, especially in the light of my childhood experiences. My brother, too, was extremely interested and excited about it. According to the notes I received from him, he was born on April 17, 1891, and became widely known in ufology circles, particularly after claiming he had photographed ships from other planets, had met with Nordic space brothers and taken flights with them in their ships. He detailed his experiences in his books, which became bestsellers. This made me think that it would be possible to travel into space with them. He co-authored his first book with Desmond Leslie in the 1950s and was known as a philosopher and researcher, although his claims have been met with skepticism. In 1940, Adamski with his followers moved to a ranch near California's Palomar Mountain, and in 1944, one of his students, Mrs. Alice K. Wells, provided funding for him to purchase more land. they built a new home and restaurant they called Paloma Gardens Cafe. I remember a small note he sent me inviting me to visit them in California. I was using my nickname Alfredo to hide my ridiculed name when in Ankara, although he knew my real name and was fascinated by my childhood experiences. I was spellbound when they alleged that they have witnessed a large cigar-shaped mothership crossing in front of the moon. He took a picture of this vessel in 1947 and claimed it was the same ship as in 1946. On May 29, 1950, Adamski took another picture depicting 6 unidentified objects in the sky, which appeared to fly in formation. In August 1978, this image was printed on a Grenadian commemorative stamp to mark the year of UFOs. I had this included in my stamp collection, but interestingly it disappeared along with my other worthwhile collections. My ex-wife was completely against them, claiming they were charmed by an evil force. I will tell you more about this a little later. Going back to when Adamski and his friends took a trip into the Colorado Desert on November 20th, 1952, they saw a large metal object hovering above their heads. Adamski believed they had come for him, and this is where he walked off and headed away from the main road. Soon after, as he claimed, a scout ship landed nearby, and the craft's pilot disembarked and approached him. This was allegedly Orthon from the planet Venus. Adamski described him as being of medium height, with long blonde hair and flawless bronzed complexion. He was a beautiful and very pleasant-looking person, radiating great wisdom and unconditional love. Adamski felt very humble and claimed that Orthon communicated with him using telepathy and gave grave warning of the dangers to humanity of nuclear war. Later, a trip for Adamski on his craft was arranged to see the entire solar system. When they had a flight to the planet Venus, Adamski claimed that his wife was recently reincarnated there. Furthermore, when he attempted to use his camera, he was not permitted to take Orthon's photographs. After Orthon left, he and his friend George Williamson took plaster casts of Orthon's footprints, which contained unusual symbols. He enthusiastically wrote all about this in his correspondence with me. According to his friends, he believed that on the far side of the moon there were cities and trees hidden from Earth, and that the images captured by the Soviet lunar module Luna 3 in 1959 were deliberately altered. Even after his death from a massive heart attack on April 23, 1965, the controversial debates about his photographs, books, and teachings still continue to this day. Like Venus, almost all other planets of our solar system are considered as being populated by people with great physical perfection and Christ-like attributes by a number of contactees and some spiritualists. However, since the 1950s, many scientists agree that living on those planets, particularly Venus, is not possible. Scientific study explains that the atmospheric pressure around that world is 92 times more than Earth's, with clouds of sulfuric acid, and an approximate temperature of 461 degrees Celsius. Therefore, it is not suitable for human habitation, unless they are capable of creating a suitable environment. Another subject of intrigue which plagued my mind for a long time was about the future success of human endeavors on those planets. While the planet upon which they currently live is not fully understood. Obviously, one tends to ask whether some of those extraterrestrials were misleading contactees. Are the contactees the victims of a hoax? Are they suffering from some form of mental ill? I doubt it. One would like to think that there may be a more suitable explanation, and some believe that those beings may be just the way they described themselves, from another dimension.